it's Rachel, and as a reminder, in 2025 I am conducting an experiment to see how much of a healthy diet I can harvest out of a backyard garden. And every month I give you guys an update on my progress towards that goal. This is the update for September. Here's the garden in question. I'm growing in Southeast Michigan, Hardiness Zone 6A. I have around 175 frost-free days from late April until mid-October, and I have about 280 active growing days, meaning days where there are 10 hours or more of daylight. Those run from February 1st until about November 9th. With those key details out of the way, here is a labeled overhead view of the garden. I grow a wide variety of annual crops in 10 raised beds at the center, with perennial crops clustered around the north, or here the right, edge, and around the outer perimeter in general. It's worth noting that a lot of my perennial crops are still getting established, and that's definitely going to affect the yields this year. My berries, mushrooms, and grapes all just started to produce this year, and all of the others are still a few years off. I also have a chicken coop and run in the northeast corner of the garden, housing 5 hens that have only recently all begun laying. I based my approach to a healthy diet on the study cited at the bottom of this page. It suggests a focus on maximizing your vitamins and minerals using specific crops, and only then adding in foods to ensure you get enough calories. In line with their and others' suggestions, I'm focusing on getting my vitamins and minerals from leafy greens, cruciferous crops, stems, bulbs, and mushrooms, and on getting as much of my energy as possible in the form of calories from eggs, nuts and seeds, fruiting crops, with an emphasis on berries as their whole own topic because of their antioxidant levels, legumes, and starchy vegetables. I do eat meat, but I am not trying to produce that part of my diet out of my suburban backyard. Every day, I weigh and document my harvests and convert those grams into servings to calculate the nutrition and energy that I'm getting from the garden. In total, I've harvested over 3,500 servings of 33 different crops so far this year. I prefer to use this Marimekko view rather than a pie chart to make it a little bit easier to see the relative sizes of things. The area of each box represents its servings relative to the total that I've harvested. You can see that my fruiting crops, excluding berries, which I treat as their own category, like tomatoes, peppers, squash, and cucumbers are my largest category, and that within that, paste tomatoes are by far the largest rectangle. In fact, they're the largest rectangle on the page. Root crops are the second largest category, followed by leafy greens, especially beet greens, then cruciferous crops, which is almost entirely broccoli at this point, and finally a mix of berries, legumes, and eggs rounding out the rest of my servings. But since my main challenge is getting enough calories out of the system, I also like to cut that same view, but looking instead at calories rather than servings. Looking at the 126,000 calories that I've harvested so far, you can see that the composition's a little bit more balanced. Non-berry fruiting crops are still my largest category, and paste tomatoes are still the largest rectangle in here, followed by my root crops. Legumes in particular are a much bigger percentage of the total than when we looked just at servings, as are berries and eggs, since they all contribute more calories per serving. Not surprisingly, with fresh leafy greens, we see the reverse, as calorically they don't contribute a whole lot, and they become a much smaller portion of the total. So as of late September, where am I overall? I've reached about 70 days of calories coming out of this system and 138 days of nutrition. That latter measure is a median value that I calculate across 17 different vitamins and minerals. Meanwhile, we're over 80% of the way through the active growing season. Here is the much more detailed view with the vitamin and mineral breakdown of some of the most important nutrients, as well as the macronutrient breakdown of carbohydrates, protein, and fat to support the calories. Similar to prior months, I am low on fat, although with the eggs starting to come in, that's improving. I've been pleasantly surprised at how much protein I've been able to get out of the system as my dry bean harvests have started. And I continue to be low on sodium, though it's not really a worry since I salt my food as I cook it. I'm not stressing out about not getting 365 days worth of calories out of the garden. I'm not trying to design a garden to survive a zombie apocalypse. I'm trying to design a garden that supports healthy eating. To show what I mean in more real terms, let me do a deep dive on broccoli. If I add up all of my broccoli harvests through the year so far, I've yielded about 23 kilograms or almost 51 pounds of broccoli. If you look just at the nutrition from the broccoli, you can see that it gave me around 10 to 20 days worth of some of the major nutrients, but only about 4 days worth of calories, because broccoli is not a high calorie food and in particular is quite low in fat. I don't generally snack on broccoli florets raw. I roast them on a sheet pan with olive oil, garlic powder, and some salt. Overall, I harvested enough to make about 34 sheet pans, since I use 4 cups per sheet. If I add in the total oil, garlic powder, and salt that I would use in the process of making those sheets, it changes this view considerably. I now have plenty of sodium and fat, more than doubling the day's worth of calories. It is true that heat from the roasting process can reduce certain nutrients, like vitamin C, that are sensitive to heat, but we're so high in that to begin with that I'm really not concerned about it. That's just broccoli. This is going to be true for a lot of the things that I harvest and eat out of this garden. And at the end of the year, when I have the totals for the whole growing season, I will show the nutrition from just that, but I will also do a deep dive view of what happens when I prepare that food and serve it to my family, and what the total caloric and nutritional yield is of the served meals, because that is actually what we are consuming. I'll also factor in the major consideration of the meat that we are eating in addition to what I'm harvesting, and I'll do a few deep dives on the role of the garden and how it serves different goals. One around healthy eating, one on grocery savings, food security, and possibly even carbon footprint if I can get the data. Until I get those done, I hope in the meantime that these updates every month are interesting and useful for people. As a reminder, you can click in and see all of my daily harvest data. I update it every Sunday. That's on my website. And I will also put a link to all of the charts shown in this video in case anybody is a data nerd like me and really wants to comb through them. As always, if there is anything I didn't mention or a question that you have that I didn't address, please do drop it below and I will do my best to respond. Otherwise, until next time, thanks.